All right, hey everyone, here for day 6. So this is going to kick off probably a three-part series on, well, the title of today's episode is Smart Tech and Intelligence, and we'll be looking at what the effect of smart tech, simply put, the internet and smartphones doing to us on an individual level. I think next 2 days will be more focused on what that's doing for us at a societal level. And obviously with each of these, there's kind of a whole huge array of topics and ways that we can talk about how the internet and smartphones are affecting us. But today we'll keep it, it's actually, this sort of whole thread was precipitated by listening to a episode of Intelligence Squared US Debates, which they host 2-on-2 debates around a lot of key topics. So the one that I was listening to was basically for and against the resolution to quote, "Smart technology is making us dumb." And the debate actually, definitely worth listening to, and I'll link to it below. But it was an interesting debate. I wouldn't say it was necessarily satisfying, which is part of why I ended up writing this piece. And the debate actually ended, to spoil it for folks, in a literal tie, which was the first time that happened for Intelligence Squared. But in any case, I think that topic of what is smart technology doing to us, particularly when it comes to intelligence, is a really interesting one. And the main delineation I want to focus on today is one that unfortunately wasn't made in the debate, but is around the difference between individual intelligence and societal intelligence. And so to talk to that briefly, individual intelligence and societal intelligence may not both be going in the same direction when we talk about the effects of something. And I think to picture this conceptually, you can look at a bunch of different teams that you've worked on in the past, or you've seen play, and there are plenty of cases where you have a bunch of smart people who end up not being an effective team, or in this case culture or society. And similarly the reverse. There may be times where you have a bunch of people who aren't that smart, or in this case we're talking about the effect of technology on their quote unquote intelligence, but they may perform better or worse as well. And so I want to really separate out these effects because I think the fundamental forces of smart technology are interacting differently for individuals versus for society. And that's maybe a better way to just put it. But let's look at individuals for today, and then as I talked about the next couple episodes, we'll talk about the effect on a societal level. So for individuals, I think it's pretty clear if we say smart technology, what's it doing to us? It's fairly clearly giving us more knowledge to work with. All the world's information basically sits out there on the cloud, which then you can access from any computer, tablet, or smartphone that is within, for in almost all cases within your reach at most hours of the day. So the amount of knowledge you can get is just tremendous. You can get a bunch of information from domain experts, answer any question, and also learn about a whole variety of topics through free online courses, through videos on sites like YouTube. And so there's just an incredible amount of information out there. So I think it's a pretty hard case to say that technology is, smart tech is giving us less knowledge. Where I think it gets, more interesting is saying, does it make us more wise? Where I'll define wisdom, I think, borrowing this definition probably from somewhere, wisdom is essentially your ability to use knowledge and leverage that into useful ideas or actions. So this is one where I think the question becomes a bit more murky on an individual level. Humans are used to lazy thinking, and so that now we just know where to get information, we're able to easily remember that. And I think there are actually studies I'll have to find, but that back this up. We're able to kind of know where to get information, remember that. But we don't necessarily remember the specific information that we may have looked up even just 5 minutes ago, let alone several days ago. And without that, I think it is very hard to crystallize a bunch of knowledge or a bunch of facts into sort of useful wisdom, useful principles. Now, the flip side to that from an individual level is that You're also able to listen to a lot of great thinkers and philosophers and just generally people who are actually wise, on the internet as well. A lot of great podcasts have a lot of people who are talking about a lot of different facts, but then synthesizing them as well into information that is, honestly useful. So I think, as with kind of anything when we talk about smart technology and the internet, there's a lot of ways that it can go and a lot of ways that we're being affected that I think we're still at the very early stages of understanding, as a society and as a culture what that means. But I think next couple of days we'll talk about what the effect of this all is on culture and society as a whole. And I think that's where it's actually easier to understand the effects because you're looking at it in aggregate and not necessarily at an individual level where a lot of differences, people are different, people have different responses, and there's a lot of sort of nuance that's hard to generalize. At a cultural level, I think it's actually easier to understand. So we'll talk about that next time. Thanks.